Alex Collier on the Next Dimension 1998. Pat, hi, this is Pat Purcell. Welcome to the Next Dimension out of this world talk radio on Talk America. Tonight my guest is Alex Collier, the author of Defending Sacred Ground, the Andromedan Compendium. Alex had a very unique experience in that he has been in direct contact with the Andromedan extraterrestrials for over 20 years. Good evening, Alex, are you there? Alex, yes Pat, I am. Hi. Pat, hi, how are you? Alex, I'm great. Pat, we're going to be discussing some very interesting aspects of your contact with the Andromedans tonight, including extraterrestrial existence, time travel, underground bases, and the world as a hologram. And I know that you will be enlightening our listeners as to a lot of these areas. We do have a quick break that we have to go to, and when we come back we will start with Alex. And for all of those who would like to contact him, your new website is www.lettersfromandromeda.com. Is that right? Alex, that is correct. Pat, okay, is there a number that they can call to receive more information if they like or get a copy of your book? Alex, yes there is, it's 303-215-1923. Pat, okay, we will be back in a moment. If you have questions for Alex, we're at a 1-888-22 TALK, and we will be discussing Alex's direct contact with the Andromedan extraterrestrials when we get back. Break. Pat, hi, this is Pat Purcell. Welcome back to the Next Dimension out of this world talk radio on Talk America. My guest is Alex Collier, author of Defending Sacred Ground, the Andromedan Compendium. Alex, why don't you just go ahead and tell us about how you were first contacted by the Andromedans? Alex, I was 8 years old. It was in the northern peninsula of Michigan, and it was a family picnic, and it was in the middle of the afternoon, and I experienced what would be considered classic missing time. And basically I was beamed on board a spacecraft, and when I woke up I was lying on a table and I was being given an exam by two beings, two men. One was very tall, with light blue skin, with no hair, and the other was a very small man, pale white, and they introduced themselves, and what was amazing was that I had absolute instant recognition to them. Pat, really? Alex, yeah, it was like I absolutely know them. You know how when you meet somebody you just know you know them? It was like that they spoke to me telepathically, very much like we were talking now, except there were no words. They didn't move their lips, but I heard them just as clear as you're hearing me, and some of your listeners. The whole thing evolved. From there, that first time they showed me who I was, my relationship to them, and basically the experience began that moment. Pat, now you were 8 years old at that time when you said that you were beamed on board. Were you taken up in some tractor beam, or do you recall that portion of it? Alex, well, it's not exactly a tractor beam. No, I did not recall the first time how I got on board, but, obviously since then I've learned how it works. Essentially what it is, the laser pointer that you use on a board during a lecture? It's a blue light and it's literally that thin, and what happens is the minute it scans and touches your body, it breaks down all of your atoms, and your atoms travel up this beam light as if it was optical fiber, on board the craft. Pat, wow. Alex, once you're there you assimilate back into your original form, and there you are, laughing. Pat, and there you are. Alex, and there you are. Pat, go ahead. When you said that they showed who you were, how did they show that to you? Alex, well, while we are sitting on the table, Pat, they put this little cap on my head and it looked like a yarmulke. It was some kind of a metal alloy, except it had a hole in the center, and immediately, Marani had this little clicker in his hands. And on the walls where there were no monitors, TVs, there was just nothing but bare wall. Suddenly, monitors, and the things began to appear, on the wall like out of thin air, and, the monitors had images. They were literally showing movies. Some were monitoring my physicality, for which I think was more for them than it was for me. The screen, that was very much like a television screen, but it was liquid. It's made of a liquid. It's like our television, but it's liquid, and because it's liquid, it gives a complete third dimension. It's almost as if you could jump into the screen and be there. That's how real it is. I saw all these scenes, and as I'm watching these scenes in front of me, I'm getting totally emotionally involved, and by the time it was over I absolutely had total recognition that what I had just seen was me, that I had seen specific events that were past life experiences for me. Now this whole process seemed like it was 15 minutes, but later, I was told that it was the equivalent of 4 hours I had been watching all of this. Pat, you mentioned the name Marani. Was that the taller one or the shorter one? Alex, Marani is the taller one, Vasai's is the shorter one. Pat, Vasai's, okay. Now you said that you had this instant recognition of them and that you knew who they were. Did they show you their inner relation with them? Alex, no it did not. Pat, okay, how did you recognize the fact that you knew them or had this contact with them? Was this just telepathic knowing or? Alex, no. On a soul level the recognition is there, that's how most of us have déjà vus. Pat, okay. Alex, because the soul recognizes someone's energy. You know, when you meet somebody that you meet for the first time, or you think you've met them for the first time, and you have this instant recognition, this instant liking, it is your soul acknowledging the fact that it knows the vibration of the person you've just met. Okay, and our conscious and our subconscious, our conscious mind doesn't know that because it's here in real time, we're in the moment, where your subconscious doesn't know time. It doesn't know time at all, it records things, and blends things all at once, whether it's a present life or a past life. Through my conversations with them, afterwards and the continuous teachings, I came to learn, when they were here 62,000 years ago, and this was at a point on our planet when there had been a huge family feud, more or less, to say, between the family of Enki and the family of Enlil, the Nibiru tribe, that was here that Zachariah Sitchin refers to and talks about. The Enlil tribe had left for a while, and the Enki tribe or the Enki family, more or less was in control of the planet, for a short time and they opened it up to all the other different races. In other words they tried making it a showcase, because it's so diverse, or our planet used to be so diverse, with so many different altitudes, and geological formations and life forms. I mean it's just a splendid place, and the Andromedans were invited here and they had a colony, a small colony, here for approximately 62 years, between 62-65 years, and they were at the time. Pat, okay, Alex, we do have to a quick break, but we'll be back in a couple of minutes, and we were speaking with Alex Collier. If you have a question we're at 1-888-822-TALK. Commercial break. Pat, hi, this is Pat Purcell. Welcome back to the next dimension out of this world talk radio. My guest is Alex Collier. Alex, we were discussing your first visit with the Andromedans. How often are you in contact with them? Alex, well Pat, there's no pattern. You know it could be several times a week, and then it could be once a month. It could go once 6 months, once 8 months. There was a period of 10 years I didn't hear from them at all. So there's no pattern. Pat, do they always take you on board? Alex, no, not always. Sometimes it's strictly telepathic. I prefer to go on board, because it's always nice to get away from gravity here, and just to be in their space. You know Earth can really grind you down. Both laugh. Pat, we all know that. What's the ship like? Tell us what the ship is like. Alex, it's really no frills. The scout craft that usually comes is approximately 30 feet in diameter. It's weird. They're bigger on the inside than they are on the outside. They've explained it to me once, but I absolutely don't understand it how it is that way. It has 3 floors, 3 levels. The middle level would be considered the cockpit, the control room, the navigational computers. They're not like our computers, by any stretch. A lot of things are liquid, a lot of the gauges and things like that can just disappear. The cock floor would be more or less a lounge area, a resting area, and the first floor, which would be the bottom floor, is an area where they load cargo. They take samples. They have a laboratory where they take samples and they put them in storage, in a way, some kind of a cryogenic freeze. It's also where they develop their holographic pictures that they take of different planets, stars, and things they are exploring and researching, and all the ships are like that. They're virtually all identical, with the exception of the motherships. The motherboards are just these huge versions of the smaller craft, except they are literally floating cities. Pat, are they floating around our Earth, or are they far away from us? Alex, no, there's a lot of activity in our solar system right now, and there always has been. It's just that as our technology gets better we're seeing more and more. Pat, so they've always been here basically? Alex, yeah, we've always been watched. Pat, are they hiding behind the clouds like I've heard? Alex, I wouldn't say hiding behind the clouds. You know, some people would call it cloak, some people would call it stealth. All they have to do is raise the vibration of their craft 7 octaves, and they literally disappear from us even they're right there. Pat, so who exactly are the Andromedans? Where are they from? And what's their purpose here? Alex, well, they're an extension of an ancient Lyran colony. most of the human race in our galaxy, and I need to differentiate this, and explain this because so many people, when they are talking about space, they say, well, our universe, we're the only planet in the universe, and there's no other life in the universe. You know, the universe has 100 trillion galaxies, we live in a galaxy, that's where we have a central sun, and we have all the other stars and planets and planetary systems, and star constellations, that rotate around it. That is a galaxy, that is not a universe, and you know, so many people get that wrong, that when I'm talking about the galaxy, they'll say, well, does he mean the universe? And I don't. The universe is so big that no one has found the end of it yet. Laughing. Okay, no one's found the end of it. They, our colony, or were a colony that came out of Lyra. Now, apparently the human race was first seeded or colonized, in the ancient Vega system that we know of as Lyra. Now the human race did not originate there. To date, at least from the Andromedans, they do not know exactly where the human race came from, you know, what we know ourselves to be. Pat, okay, Alex, we have to go to news real quick, but we'll be back in a few minutes, and we'll be discussing more about the Andromedans and Alex Collier, author of Defending Sacred Ground. We'll be back in a moment. Commercial break. Pat, hi, this is Pat Purcell. Welcome back to the next dimension out of this world talk radio. My guest is Alex Collier. Alex, we've gotten through some of the basics. Let's talk about what their message is, and why have they contacted you? Alex, well, Pat, I'm not the only one. Pat, okay. Alex, there are 3 others. My understanding is that there's going to be a lot more, and since I've been on a couple of radio shows, I've been getting some information back that there are other people. One of these contactees down in South America has actually contacted us, and we were starting to communicate, and we were going to start sharing some more stories. When they were here 62,000 years ago, they were forced to leave. Not only them, but many other colonial races that were here, that had been invited here, and I was killed before I could leave. So, they basically came back to say hi, to touch base, and to help. Their message in a nutshell has been, you have been manipulated for a very, very long time. You have incredible potential. More of you would not even be able to understand your potential. Now they're referring to us here on Earth. We want you to know that on a genetic level you are considered royalty. Pat, wow. Alex, whatever you put your minds to, you can accomplish. But it will involve taking full responsibility and having mutual respect for each other. In a nutshell, that's their message. I once asked them what our future was going to be. Their response was really quite profound. You know, that is just not an easy thing to answer. Their message has been primarily to try to educate. Pat, okay. Alex, they were not ones to sugarcoat it. You know, Pat, I've heard so much, so many people talking about love and light, that everything's okay, and that it's going to be okay, and that's never been their message. Their message is there are a lot of problems here, and a lot of the problems you have not caused, but you're propagating, generation after generation, because you are not aware of the history behind world events, and your race. In their opinion, we as a race are definitely suffering from an identity crisis. You know, we do not know who we are, where we're going, how we got here, why we're here, and it's obvious we have not learned from the past because we are continuing to create a lot of what's been in our past. As far as wars and so on and so forth. Pat, you said that we've been manipulated. Is this part of this manipulation is to keep us in this kind of chaotic state? Alex, yes, because there was a time where we united as a race. I mean, there have been several times, but the very last time was during the time that Nibiru was here, and Mr. Sitchin talks about this in his books, The Earth Chronicles, and they were not an easy read, but I would suggest everybody read them. Try to get through it. Pat, and this was Nibiru. Alex, Nibiru, yes, we united because we were slaves to a group of extraterrestrial races that were here, and we were treated like slaves. As long as we did what we were told, we were fed, we were given water, things remained relatively calm, but the minute we didn't behave, the truth is they slaughtered us like we were cattle. They thought nothing of it, and we rebelled, several times, and you know, in history the Bible refers to let us confound them and change their languages. Pat, okay, Alex, I'm sorry we'll have to take a quick break, we'll be right back. Alex, okay Pat. Commercial break. Pat, this is Pat Purcell. Welcome to the next dimension out of this world talk radio. My guest is Alex Collier. Alex, you said that we are being manipulated. Who is doing the manipulation? Alex, well Pat, there are several groups of extraterrestrial races that have been here, and you know, come back and forth, Let me just say that there is a hierarchy, and it primarily stems out of Orion, Sirius B. Then there have been those lone groups, such as the Tao, which the people here on Earth here call the Greys, and there have also been reptilian races. There have been some from Betelgeuse, that have also visited, and have been manipulating us. Even Nibiru manipulated us. Again, let me go back to set this up. Let me try to explain who I have been taught by the Andromedans we are, okay? Pat, okay. Alex, now, we talked about the genetics, and I'm going to get to that in a second, but I first want to tell everybody, folks, whether you want to believe this or not, whether you think I'm crazy or not, it doesn't matter, but the reality is that every one of you has a soul, okay, a consciousness that lives forever, that records, and its purpose is to experience life, whichever life you choose to evolve, to discover who you are, to become all that you can be. None of you, including myself, none of us as souls on this planet were born and hatched here. We all come from some other place, some other realm, some other dimension. That's just the reality of it. And whether you're a Christian, you're a Buddhist, you're a Jew, you're a Muslim, it doesn't change anything. The reality is all of you as a soul come from someplace else. Now, for some reason, a very large group of us, as souls, choose to incarnate into this physically which we know ourselves as Earth beings, or Terrans as we were known outside, at least off planets. Now because of so many extraterrestrial in the last 22 million years, visiting our planet, coming here, staying here, you know this was an outpost, it's where we're the furthest end of our galaxy. It was an outpost, we are along a trading route, that moves just outside our solar system, that many very advanced races use, and have used in the past, that moves just outside out of our solar system, to leave our galaxy, to go to other galaxies, and yes, there are races that can do this. They would stop here for whatever reason. This is why we have so much life, so much diversity. It's because much of the life that is on our planet was brought here by other races. This is why in the fossil records they have discovered so many extinct animals and other plant life that are fully formed. Okay. This notion that everything evolved from a single cell is rubbish. I want you to know that it is rubbish. It will never be proven. They teach it as proof, but it isn't. Okay, it's just not true. But it's all part of the programming to keep us thinking small. Now, because of all the interaction Earth has had with so many different races, there have been races, extraterrestrials that have been left behind. There have other also, and many of them are human races. There are also many human races, extraterrestrial races that are human that have come here and commingled with our race, both in the past and I'm told, even in the present. This does go on. This occurs for example with the Greys. There are people, folks, especially women who know they have been implanted, have bared children, the seed has been put inside of them, and they get to 3 or 4 months, and suddenly the pregnancy is terminated, and the baby is gone. There are other stories of women being taken on board where they've met their children with extraterrestrials. So you see, so much has gone on with extraterrestrials. According to the Andromedans, we as his race, I'm now taking about all of us on planet Earth, are the sum total of 22 different extraterrestrial races. Pat makes noise of astonishment. Alex, okay? Pat, that's incredible, Alex, and they say that we are royalty. Because of this, that we're the only ones, in our galaxy like this, the only ones. Pat, wow, this is kind of like a living library, huh? Alex, exactly. And I think somebody's actually said that before. I think it was, either, Barbara Marciniak. Pat, yes. Alex, but nobody wants to hear it. Both chuckle. Nobody wants to hear it. They want to just stay in their 9 to 5, watch football, drink beer, and I'm like, God, we were never going to evolve like this. Pat, this is a very important time though, isn't it? Alex, yes ma'am, it is. The bubble is bursting, and it's going to be a very wild ride, Pat. Things are radically changing, some things for the better, and some definitely for the worst. You know this is a very dangerous time, for all of us on the planet, because our governments are completely irresponsible, and the people that are running it, you know, political leaders, they're not really in charge. They're really not, but you know there's an agenda, to lower the population of the planet, and they're setting everything up to do that. Pat, okay, Alex, we do have to take another quick break, and we'll be back to discuss a little more about this, lowering of the population, and what's going with the government. We'll be back in a moment with Alex Collier, defending sacred ground. Commercial break. Pat, welcome back to the next dimension. Out of This World Talk Radio on Talk America. My guest is Alex Collier, author of Defending Sacred Ground. Alex, if we are in fact the kind of experiment of the universe, that all of these different extraterrestrials have kind of seeded our planet, why are they now trying to lower our population? Alex: well, Pat, it's not exactly like that. It's not all of them that are trying to do it. And we didn't start out to be an experiment. You know, we were way in the Brunies and at the end of the galaxy, and I guess you could say that many races were very irresponsible about some of their actions when they were here. They would just get in their ships and they would leave, and just either go home or continue on with their mission or their scientific expedition, whatever it was they were doing, and didn't give us a second thought. But what happened was, something happened to our DNA, and suddenly within 2,000 years, we go from these barbarians to being able to create space flight. We've evolved very, very quickly, and this has actually scared some races. It is primarily, and I will use this term often, regressive races that simply do not want to see us evolve, and to take our rightful place in the galactic family. Because part of our DNA has to do with the primate race, going way, 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 way back, and there are some extraterrestrial races, and they're not necessarily human, who see us as beasts. They resent the fact that we have the abilities that we have, that we can evolve so quickly, and are doing everything they can to hold us back, and they have been for a very, very long time. Pat, are these like the Orions and the... Alex: yes, ma'am. There are groups from Orion, from Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, Betelgeuse, Sirius B, that you know, absolutely do not want to see us evolve. They absolutely do not. They would prefer that we just stay right here, and we just stay out of the way. You know, this is a very complicated subject, and if you want to go down that road, we can do that, or if you want to explore other things and maybe go back to that, we can do it. But you know, Pat, for 10 years I have been speaking publicly, and I just keep saying this over and over again. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so awesome. We truly are. We just have to believe in ourselves, and we have to start putting all of our petty differences aside, and start working as a race. Now, that doesn't mean giving up freedom. It doesn't mean giving up your individual liberties, and it doesn't mean having to screw someone over for money or power. It means literally learning to work together, so we can all evolve together. Pat, now you were saying, I would like to go on that thing because this is a very positive show. You were saying that, you know, we talk about love and light, not really so much that. So how do we draw ourselves together as a group in something positive? Oops. I guess we have to go to the news break. Alex: that sounds great. Pat: I know they do. That's the only frustrating thought. But, Alex, hold that thought. Pat: hold that thought. When we go to the news, and when we come back, we will discuss about what we can do to draw up ourselves together and to come up to the potential that we have and that we really are. We'll back in a moment, with Alex Collier, author of Defending Sacred Ground. Alex: okay. Commercial break. Pat: hi, this is Pat Purcell. Welcome back to the next dimension on Talk America and Live on the Internet. Listeners, you can listen at http://www.spiritnetwork.com/next-dimension, all one word. My guest this hour and the next hour for the rest of the night is Alex Collier, the author of The Andromedan Compendium. We have a caller right now, Ed in Texas, who is listening on the internet, who has a question. Go ahead, Ed. Ed: oh, hi Pat, how are you this morning? Pat: fine, how are you? Ed: good. Hi Alex, how are you tonight, this morning? Alex: I'm going well. How come you're not sleeping? Laughs. Ed: I stayed up for you, Alex. Alex: I'm honored. Ed: I had to do it. First of all, I've read your book, Defending Sacred Ground. Excellent, excellent piece of work. I do have some questions, and I don't want to jump ahead of what you're talking about, but I would like you to comment on the Andromedans being very, what's the word I want to use, amazed at the things we have, that we project from ourselves and our holographic third reality, you know, like our little knickknacks and everything else like that. Alex: mean why we put so much energy into those things? Ed: yes. Alex: you know, okay, that's a great question. Is there time to answer the question? Pat: you know, actually we do have to take our top of the hour break. I mean, I'm sorry, but we will get back. We wanted to get that question out before we went to break, but we'll be back in a moment with Alex and Ed from Texas, and I'll be answering that question as soon as we come back from break. Commercial break. Pat: hi, this is Pat Purcell. Welcome back to the next dimension out of this world. Talk Radio on Talk America and Live on the Internet. My guest is Alex Collier, and we just had a question from Ed from Texas about what the Andromedans think about all of our preoccupation, as I would guess would be materialism and stuff. Is that correct? Ed, more or less, it is to do with how we use a lot of our energy. Alex, okay, they do not understand why we do not really want to know about our past. They don't understand why we do not practice or want to explore voluntary introspection. Feedback, then loss of signal for 3 minutes. How are we going to as a race stand and create something that benefits everybody? That fulfills the needs of the many? Or are we going to continue to play this game where the needs of the few are fulfilled and everybody else suffers? Ed, right. Alex, you know, what we're creating isn't working, and they do not understand why we don't see it, or why we don't change it, or why we don't honestly look at ourselves and our past, and that what we are creating for our future and fix it. They don't understand why we don't take responsibility for it, that we want somebody else to fix it for us. And I once asked Vasai's about our future, because I'm worried, I am really worried, and this is the answer he gave me: responsible freedom of self-determination, becoming truly self-confident and free to unconditionally be responsible for oneself. And here's the key phrase: without being coerced to accept some higher authority. And that's an individual decision by each one of us to be that way, to be fully responsible, you know. And so many people just don't want to take responsibility. Ed, I've been trying to walk my talk, and I'm beating my head against the wall talking to people about things. You know where I'm coming from with that. Alex, yeah, well, you know, the educational system has successfully made sure that there are very few critical thinkers. Ed, they disempowered generations? Alex, yeah, and you know, we're in trouble. Pat, how do you suggest we band together? Is this going to be done individually and each person develops their own sovereignty, and therefore it just kind of does the 100th monkey theory? Alex, Pat, that's only part of it. It's going to have to be a grassroots level. In other words, you know, let me just put it to you this way, and I will deal specifically with the United States of America. We are extremely vulnerable now. Our government's totally corrupt. It doesn't give a damn about us. It's been run by corporations. It's been run by men and extraterrestrial that live underground that don't give a damn about us. We were just considered a natural resource, and we are extremely vulnerable in the next 6 months to nuclear terrorism, biological terrorism. And the only way America is going to be saved is by the people. The people are going to have to save the United States. It isn't going to be the government. They're block and paid for. That's just the way it is, and everybody knows it. But very few people want to stand up, take responsibility and say, look, we need to get rid of everybody there and start over. That's just the way it is. Nobody wants to do it, and this is where we become a country of gossip. We talk about it, but nobody does anything. Nobody's willing to stand up and take the heat. And fewer others are willing to stand behind them and really take the heat, to make the changes. They just want to continue to go on thinking that it's going to work itself out and fix itself, and it isn't going to happen. Pat, when you said to get rid of everybody, how to dash? Alex, we fire them. Pat, fire them. Alex, yes ma'am. You know, this thing will Bill Clinton, and I know we were kind of getting off. This is an issue I want to talk about. This thing with Monica Lewinsky. Pat, yes. Alex, you know, this is not really the issue. Yeah, sure, he lied, he committed perjury, and he probably obstructed justice. But this is not the issue. I'll tell you what the real issue is, and it's treason. The real issue is treason. Okay, Laurel Space Corporation gave the Chinese top-secret technology for guidance missile systems. Okay, and the reason he got a waiver to do it because he gave Bill Clinton a lot of campaign contributions, and he was the largest donor to the Democratic Party. He got a special waiver which gave the Chinese the guidance missile technology they needed for their nuclear missiles. So now they'll hit their targets where before they couldn't even get them off the ground. Okay, and where are those nuclear missiles targeted? They pointed at us. Pat, us. Alex, they're pointed at us. Pat, they're pointed at us, and we gave them the technology for money. Pat, this is what the whole thing is about. Alex, that's what the whole thing is really all about. Pat, okay. Alex, that's what it's about. Pat, we do have to take a quick break here, laughing, but we will be back, and we have a caller holding from Vegas as well. Alex. Thanks, Ed, if you're still there. Pat, okay, thank you, Ed, very much for calling in. Be back in a moment. Commercial break. Pat, hi, this is Pat Purcell. Welcome back to the Next Dimension, Out of This World Talk Radio. My guest is Alex Collier, author of Defending Sacred Ground. Alex, we have another call from Christina in Vegas, who very much would like to ask you a question. Christina, are you there? Christina, yes I am here. Hi Alex. Alex, hi Christina. Christina, how are you? Alex, I'm good. Christina, alright, first of all I hope they sold them the Titan missile guidance system, you know, the one that cracks up that we can't even get up there, but let's face it, we're not honorable as Americans when we sell technology. Alex, I agree. Christina, we probably sold them something cracked anyway. Getting on to something a little different. Now the two people that you are telepathically in contact with, have they mentioned anything about the solar flares, the gamma rays, harbingers of things to come? Was there anything in particular about what's going out in our galaxy that we need to be aware of? Alex, well there's a lot going on in the galaxy, but let's just talk about our sun for a moment. I know that there's all kinds of people saying all kinds of things, at dames, where the planet's going to be fried and all this stuff. Christina, Alex, it just isn't going to happen. According to the Andromedans, something that occurs on a fairly regular basis, throughout the galaxy, is that stars pole shift. Okay, even planets pole shift, where they will rotate on their axis. Apparently our sun electromagnetic field has just finished a pole shift and the electromagnetic field of the sun has not set itself. In other words, it's flipping back and forth, which is causing a lot of flare activity, and the Andromedans have said that if it doesn't balance itself out in the next 85 to 93 days that they are going to intervene to do this. They are going to balance the magnetic field. Christina, great that there's somebody out there watching us. Alex, yes ma'am, they've intervened several times already and other races have intervened as well, both good and bad, but that's what they say it is. This is an occurrence that happens, and what happens is that once the sun does it, generally the planets follow suit, and what it does is that the tone and frequency of our solar system is dictated by the sun. It's not the planets but by the sun sets the tone, and what happens is that when it flips, and rotates, to its new axis, it puts off a new tone and frequency, and the other planets realign themselves to that over a period of time. It's always been this way. Christina, that makes sense. One other quick question. Alex, yes ma'am. Christina, now, supposedly there's a portal over the Middle East, and I was wondering if you have any information regarding that, because it seems that if we were all genetically royal, what happened to that part of the country where they just want to, as a world, where they just want to kill themselves all the time? Alex, oh, that's a great question, and Christina, I can answer it this way. Okay, this is the best answer I can give you. Prejudice is an extraterrestrial perspective. We have been taught to hate each other, because as long as we hate each other we will never unite and evolve as a race. We will constantly sabotage each other. Christina, well it seems like they are fighting brother to brother. I think we are a little more united in the United States, not much but a little bit more. Alex, laughing, well not enough. Christina, laughing. Alex, not enough? You know it's that we're not united. I think we were lazy. I think we're really lazy. Christina, a lot of people want to stand up and do something, and it does have to be a grassroots thing, but let's face it, the people who think they're in charge, they just get rid of people who start these grassroots movements. I think on a conscious level that a lot of people are trying to raise the situation of pulling things together in a positive way. Just because we can't get out there and do it with signs or get some notice about it because our liberties would be taken away doesn't mean we can't consciously do it, and I think that's what's going on. Alex, Christina, let me ask you this then, if that's the case, why is it only 25% of the population votes? Christina, oh I think you're going to see a big voter turnout this time. Alex, that would be great. Christina, yeah, I think we will. But on a lighter side, I have something to ask you, Alex. Alex, yes ma'am. Christina, laughing. Is Al Gore walking cause he doesn't look too animated? Giggling. Alex, laughing. I don't know. Christina, well thanks for your time. Pat, I've just got to say we have to the news real quick. Christina, okay I'm going to let you go, thanks, and it's great listening to you. Pat, okay, thank you Christina. We do have to go to the news real quick, and then we'll be back with Alex Collier defending sacred ground. You want to go ahead and give your number out real quick, Alex? Alex, if you want information regarding anything, call 303-215-1923. Please, business hours, don't call now. It's 1:30 in the morning here. Laughing. Pat, or check your website at www.lettersfromandromeda.com. Alex.com, yes. Pat, Okay, great, we'll be back in a moment right after the news. Commercial break. Pat, hi, this is Pat Purcell. Welcome back to the next dimension, out of this world talk radio on Talk American Networks. My guest is Alex Collier, author of Defending Sacred Ground. I'd also like to mention that our callers will be receiving a free subscription to the Iran Holistic Journal and Research Directory, which contains our newsletter. Right now we have Art from Brenning, Pennsylvania on the line. I guess you have a very important question for Alex. Go ahead. Art is barely audible. Art, Alex. Alex, yes. Art, am I on? Pat, yeah, laughing. Alex, hey Art. Art, I have a question, although maybe you want to answer one at a time. The first has to do with the Nibiru, Sitchin's 12th planet. Alex, yes sir, but it's not exactly a planet, it's more of a, well, it is a planet, but it's been hollowed out. It's now actually a spacecraft. Art, this according to him is a period of 3,600 years. Alex, that's inaccurate. It basically travels anywhere it wants. You know, my understanding is that they have sometimes, instead of being 3,600 years apart, they've come 4,200 years, sometimes 5,700 years, 15,000 years. Art, when's is it due back? Alex, the planet or the craft itself, I've not been told that, but I can tell you this quite honestly. Many of the Nibirians, or Nibiru, are here in our solar system now. They're coming back. There is an advanced force, the protocol force, that is already in the solar system. Art. Website about that. Paraphrase parts. About what the possible consequences, unclear. Pat, neither can I. We're having a problem hearing Art through the lines here. I guess you can hear him, Alex, but we're not able to hear him at all. Alex, okay, do you want me to repeat the question? Pat, yeah, maybe repeat the question. Alex, okay. His question was making a reference to an announcement on our website, about the fact that they were here and what those consequences would be for us, and the answer is Art, my concern is that we're in trouble because of their past treatment of us in history. Some have treated us as equals, but the family of Enlil, the natural-born son of Anu, and again I refer to Sitchin work. Art, yes, I know that. Alex, they hate us. I mean, we were just nothing but a natural resource, and the last flood, the biblical flood of Noah, was a tilting of the planet on its axis, which they did mechanically to try to wipe us out, to exterminate the race, and that's why the Andromedans and other races are here, to make sure that doesn't happen again, because we have a legitimate right to survive, evolve. I don't know, Art, what's going to happen next. I wish I knew. All I can do is keep you posted when I get new information. Art, on the website you said that Moreni mentioned that if he was asked to leave he would do so. Alex, if the council told him to leave they would have to. Art, yes, they have the power to do that? Alex, yes sir they do. Art, and his duty bound to obey? Alex, that's the impression I was given. Art, if that was to occur then the flyover would not happen, is that right? Alex, I don't know that sir, I don't know that. Unclear. Would stay here because what happens here affects their future, so they have an investment in seeing that this thing balances itself out. Art, well, isn't it true that they are also from our future? Alex, yes sir. Art, you might want to explain that for people who don't really understand that. Alex, okay. Art, that's a big order. Pat, before we answer we do have to take a quick break. We are getting to hear Art now, so it's working, but we'll be back in a moment with Alex Collier and Art from Reading, Pennsylvania. We'll be right back. Commercial break. Pat, hi, this is Pat Purcell. Welcome back to the next dimension out of this world talk radio. My guest is Alex Collier, and we were talking to Art from Reading, Pennsylvania. Art, do you have another question? Art, yes, we left it kind of hanging in the air. Alex, as I recall you mentioned that the one reason that the Andromedans are here is that they in their future, at some point they discovered tyranny and they traced in back to our galaxy, is that correct? Alex, yeah, to our solar system. Art, I'm sorry, to our solar system? Alex, yes sir. Okay, to give a little galactic history, a very long time ago there was a war in our galaxy, and it was primarily between the human races and the reptilian races, and the two sides slaughtered each other to the point where there was really no winner. They both just exhausted themselves to where they're and just basically went in their opposite directions. The conflict was never really resolved. Now what happened was that a group from Sirius B under the guidance of the Orion, a consortium out of Orion, the Orion constellations, gave scientists on our planet technology, time travel technology. This time travel technology became known as the Montauk Project. And what happened was, we without knowing what we were doing created a tier in time. We didn't know what we were doing, you know, we really had no business with the technology, and according to Morani it's supposed to be another 150 years before we actually invented time travel ourselves. But anyway, these races gave us this technology. We opened up these holes in time, not one, not two, but three. Holes in time which also created three parallel realities of Earth. Now apparently extraterrestrial races from Orion and other groups that are regressive have been using these tiers in time, to go back in time and alter events in the past that create 400 linear time in our future, tyranny in our galaxy, and this is one of the reasons why the Andromedans and other races are here. This is why they intervened and stopped literal portal time travel through these tiers. They've literally been sealing them up and blocking them and have literally quarantined the solar system from time travel because they realized that these specific races were going back and altering certain events so that the outcome would be different from the way it was. Does that make sense? Art, yeah, when they altered these events, and that would be an unparalleled reality? Alex, well, Art, because doesn't that lead to a paradox? If you go back to the past and alter the event, and when you get to the present you have a paradox. You know the old story that if you went back and killed your father would you then be born? Alex, I don't know that that's necessarily true, Art. I don't know if it was. If they actually go back and change an alternative reality, my understanding is that they've been altering the original reality. You know, when you time travel it doesn't necessarily mean that they go to a parallel reality. I don't honestly know enough about that, and that's a great question. I don't know if I have an answer for you. No. Art, so they are really travelers in both space and time. Alex, well yeah. Pat, does one of the things that they are altering like the perception of what happened when Christ was on the earth to manipulate the people into thinking it was a different scenario than it really was? Art, do you want to get into that, Alex? Alex, laughing, one of my least favorite subjects to talk about. Pat, I can address that, but you know, you may not like my answer. Pat, though I probably already know your answer and I'm not afraid for you to say it. Alex, it didn't happen the way we've been taught, it didn't happen that way at all, you know, and you know a lot of people are waiting for a savior that may not be coming. We may need to be our own savior. Pat, that's, for me I think that's a very important thing for our listeners to hear, is that there is no savior, and if we continue to look for a savior we are placing expectations on what may turn out to be extraterrestrials or whatever to be our saviors. Alex, right, we are disempowering ourselves. Pat, right. Alex, we were totally disempowering ourselves by waiting to be saved. Pat, that's right, and everybody looks to the government and everybody looks to the coming of the Christ, the next savior down the line who's going to fix everything, and I think your message is very important. That we're here to save ourselves. Art, not only that, but I might interrupt, but that there's also rumors that Putica. Unclear, maybe some ET groups that may try to play out. Alex, play it out, Art? Is that what you're going to say? Art, I'm sorry? Alex, to play it out. Art, yeah, to make it appear that they were coming here as saviors and all this love and light sort of thing, so it seems that they're not saviors at all. Alex, that's right, that's exactly right. Art, I don't know which groups they are. Alex, it would be the Dows, the Greys. Art, by the way, are these groups, these creatures from Sirius B, are they reptilian or are they more humanoid? Alex, well they're humanoid but they have partial scales. Art, okay. Alex, they were a colony originally. My understanding is that it was a work colony that, in other words, there was a lot of mining in Orion. Some of the constellations in Orion were mining minerals that they needed in the Sirius constellation, and the actual race of Sirius B were the workers that were brought there, basically slaves, prisoners to work those mines. Art, I see. Alex, and they've, you know, evolved, over so many millions of years to become the race that they are now. But again they're very stuck on monarchy, where the king is God. Art, yeah. Earlier on you had mentioned about how suddenly man evolved very quickly, and I think the twist in that unclear. The idea with the missing of the DNA, you know, in the anthropology studies, we were savages, all this suddenly pro magnum sapiens. Man appears. Alex, right. Art, and doesn't that fit in with Sitchin's idea that they took the hominid apes and altered the DNA and gave them a little bit more intelligence? Alex, ah yes sir, but there were also human races here too which we're not being told about. Art, yeah. Alex, I mean they are finding records of man as we know ourselves in the fossilized record. But they keep it quiet because they don't want to take the time to rewrite history and say geez we were wrong. Art, yeah. Alex, they would rather just propagating the lie to protect their precious little hierarchy. Art, and isn't it true that Pat, I'm sorry Art and Alex we have to go to break and we've got the shift report up so we'll back after the news okay? Alex/Art, okay. Pat, right. Alex, bye-bye. Pat, bye-bye. Shift report with another guest. Pat, hi this is Pat Purcell welcome back to the third hour of the next dimension my guest is Alex Collier, the author of Defending Sacred Ground and we were talking with Art from Wedding, Pennsylvania who has one more question and then we will be discussing some things like holograms and some of the other races. Art, you had one more question. Art, yes the gentleman you were just talking with in Hawaii referring to shift report. Pat, yes. Art, mentioned about the magnetic changes. The magnetic changes in the Earth's magnetic field, made reference to it. Have you been following this business with the homing pigeons? Pat, homing pigeons, no I haven't, I'm not familiar with it. Art, apparently the homing pigeons used the magnetic lines of course as their homing device. And recently in the paper there was an article about, I think it was near Pittsburgh, where some 2,000 pigeons were released and only about 20 of them got home so? Pat, can you comment on that Alex? Art, yeah the electromagnetic field of our Earth is fluctuating and this usually occurs before a physical pole shift of the planet. The electromagnetic field will rotate and realign itself and then the planet will follow and again this is all in response to the sun. Pat, so you're expecting, are the Andromedans telling you we are going to have a pole shift or is it? Alex, the highest probability is any time between now and the year 2003. We're going to have a physical pole shift. Pat, is it going to be very world drastic? Alex, yes ma'am it is, yes ma'am, it can be. Pat, because some of the guests that I've had, we've discussed the shift just a lot, as you can probably tell, laughing. Some of the guests I've been having saying that through consciousness and through different methods of people working on this, through meditation and through unclear, talking about the fifth mode of prayer that we are softening some of these effects and hopefully they won't be quite as drastic as has been predicted but you never know. It's up to us right? Laughing. Alex, yes ma'am it is. Pat, okay did that answer your question for you Art? Art, yes it did. Pat, okay well we appreciate your call. Art, yes thank you very much Pat. Pat, alright, bye-bye. Art, good night, g'night Alex. Alex, g'night Art. Pat, one of the things that I want to discuss with you is with the fact that we are actually in a hologram. I was reading that in your book. Alex, according to Andromedans the entire universe which involves all of the dimensions, planes, or whatever you want to call it, including ourselves are holographs. That it is made up of light, color and sound, and all matter is made up of that depending upon the frequency of the light and color and the sound will dictate the density of which it is, and they've even said that we're all holograms. Pat, our physical bodies are holograms? Alex, yeah. Pat, so basically the third-dimensional hologram, when we are seeing something outside of ourselves that's basically a mirror in third-dimensional form. Is that what we were saying? Alex, yes ma'am. For example, let's look at the process of birth, okay? Here you have a soul attaches to a physical, a soul wants to incarnate into third density, we'll say Earth, okay how does the soul get in here? It is to create the space okay, and how does it create the space? It has to create a physical form that is acceptable with a frequency, color sounded frequency that will be able to integrate into this holograph which we have which we call third density Pat, Alex, you're going to kill me laughing but we have to take a break. Alex, another break. Pat, okay this is our short one. When we come back we're going to have a nice span of time, so save your thought we'll be right back okay? Alex, okay. Break. Pat, hi this is Pat Purcell welcome to the next dimension we were back with Alex Collier. Okay Alex let's start over with this, laughing. Alex, okay so if every single one of us had cognitive memory of our progression of lifetimes we would come to understand that we truly to choose our parents for the purpose of the experience that we choose to have. Now how do we as a soul, a spirit come into third density to experience physical reality? We have to create the space so what we do is we attach to a body, to an embryo and as it grows and it matures in the mother's body it is here, but it isn't here yet. It isn't actually the birthing processing where now that physical now has its own space on in third density. You understand? Pat, yes I understand. Alex, okay, so when a person has a near-death experience they leave their body, they are considered dead, for a time, whether it's 10 seconds, 30 seconds a few seconds, they go to some place, and they have an experience. Now it's a real experience okay, but they're no longer in physical body, they are now someplace else, that is just as real to them, even though it is not as dense as physical. Now when they come back to their body and they relate what experience they had, some people are like, how can that be? Where did you go, how can that exist? It exists because the universe, what we know as our universe, is a series of layers of frequencies and vibration, and within that hologram contains a level of frequencies of harmonics that we exist on, and that can only be if it was a holograph. Pat, okay. Alex, for example, the Andromedans have a camera, which they use extensively, and it's a holographic camera. Now Pat, they can take a picture of you, right now this moment, and depending on the setting of this camera, it can be set for 10 years in our linear time, 20 years in our linear time, or it can even go back to moment of conception, of your mom and your dad. Now this one picture contains, if they took a picture of you now it would contain your entire life from now back to conception. And then what they do is they take it apart and they look at specific times in your life. And it's like a video, but it's actually a picture. It's like a snapshot, but they're able to take it apart and look at various times in your life of who you were, what you're experiencing, everything about you okay, and it's a holographic camera, literally. They've taken lots of these kinds of pictures of our planet, and the reason they say they can do this is because it is a holograph, it is a true account of who you are. Now we are so stuck in linear time that it is very difficult for people to conceive the concept that everything is a holograph. I mean, you say holograph to most, they'll say hello what? They won't even know what you're talking about. The soul, your soul, my soul, everybody's soul is literally multidimensional. It is a holograph, because what you're experiencing now here in the present, you're not consciously aware of other experiences your soul is having on other levels, because we have separated ourselves from the concept of a holograph into linear thinking, that this is it, this is where I am now, and that's all there is to it. There's nothing else that exists, and we've limited ourselves tremendously, and we wonder why we're only using 12 to 15% of our brain. Pat, yes, so when you're talking in a book about we're moving into the fourth dimension and the fifth dimension. Alex, yes ma'am. Pat, okay, which is something that we're doing right now. How, would you explain to the listeners, which I thought was very interesting in your book about how you will know, when you have say reached the fourth dimension or the fifth dimension? Alex, well, according to the Andromedans, many of us are already in the fourth dimension and its consciousness. Pat, how does it look different than the third dimensional consciousness? Alex, color, its frequency, its sound, but to us on a physical level, the first thing that will strike us will be the difference in colors. It will also be a difference in the depth of emotional experience. Pat, depth of emotional experience. Alex, experience. If the entire body will experience all emotion, as opposed to, just feeling it in a certain part of our body, whether it's the heart, the solar plexus, the mind, the throat, in other words, the whole body will hum, it will vibrate. You will also be able to see spirit, what we call spirit, which is really just another dimension. Many people are already beginning to experience this. They are seeing things in their peripheral vision. They'll see things walk by them, go past them, they'll see things in the room, and they'll look and it isn't there of course, but to the peripheral vision they know they saw something, or they felt something. In other words, those kind of things will become more and more physical. Telepathy. You will begin to experience more telepathy. You will actually begin to hear other people's thoughts about you, directed towards you. You will think of somebody and they will immediately call you, and it will become more and more music in background prevalent. Is this another break? Pat, yeah, both laugh. Pat, we'll be right back in a moment. This is great stuff. We'll be back with Alex Collier in a moment. Commercial break. Pat, hi, this is Pat Purcell. Welcome back to the next dimension. My guest is Alex Collier, who is talking about some of the changes we're experiencing, from going from the third to the fourth to the fifth dimension, and you were just telling me things like telepathy and beginning to see spirits. Alex, yes, to see what we would call spirit. Also Pat, my understanding is that as we move through it you'll be able to look at people and you will automatically see physical dysfunctional and them, you will see it, and you will know exactly what it is, because as we move through fourth into fifth we will actually see pictures, in people's physical form, of what's causing the blockage. Whether it's an experience, whether it's an emotion, we will be able to really help each other as well as ourselves, and we'll be able to walk through physicality because as we evolve the atoms that make up our physical form, which is held together by intent, will rotate at a higher frequency. Which means we become less and less dense. That's why some of the people in India can actually do a meditation and literally levitate themselves. Pat, right. Alex, because they raise the frequency of their atoms to make themselves light, and that's why he begins to levitate. Pat talks over. Pat, but where would he go? Would there be people in the third dimension at the same time that somebody are like, for instance if I'm third dimension will I have people that I can see and work with that are in fourth dimension, the fifth dimension, or we will all be interacting on the same plane, or will people kind of all be in the fourth dimension at the same time, and then all move into the fifth dimension at the same time? Alex, the scenario I was given by Marani emphasizes this, that it would probably be the children first. That the children would be able to literally walk into fourth and fifth density and will come back to teach their parents how to do it and to prepare them for what's on the other side. It's going to be the children that are going to teach us because they were so wide open. For example, I'm a dad, and we have a toddler, and as you know toddlers go through terrible 2s and 3s sometimes, and other challenges. I've asked them about it and what he told me was that the children become frustrated because they can remember their past lifetimes and in their mind they see themselves doing something, but physically they can't do it. They do not understand how they can see themselves in their minds doing it and they can't do it physically, and they get frustrated. Cause their minds are far advanced than their bodies, the physical form. They don't understand why their physicality limits them because in their mind they are wide open. They are completely wide open, and unless we continue to encourage that openness in them, they lose it, and then they begin to dismiss that part of their past life, that recognition, they dismiss it, and then they become, they start becoming like their parents. Pat, so we're interacting, cause it's very interesting of course, with doing what I'm doing I meet some incredibly interesting people. Some of these people have of course abilities like touch healing and psychic abilities and, are some of these people like say on the fourth dimension, some on the fifth dimension, are they kind of these certain people that have certain abilities, or are we all right now in the fourth dimension? Alex, we all have it. Pat, we all have it. Alex, we, unclear, have to be ready to do it. But it's a choice. It's a decision that people have to make, and it sounds easy but it isn't. Pat, oh I know. Alex, it's all based on programming and conditioning, Pat, so are we all? Well I guess my question is this, are we all in the fourth dimension right now, or are some of us in the third, and some of us in the fourth, and some of us in the fifth, but we're all interacting at the same time? Alex, some of us are in the third, some of us are in the fourth. I believe there are 4 or 5 people on the planet now that can literally go from third to fifth, one of them being Sai Baba. Pat, in the fifth dimension I know we have to go, take a news break. But let's talk about when we come back how does the fifth dimension differ from say the fourth? You said something about the golden arches being aquamarine or something. Alex and Pat laugh. Alex, yeah we'll get to that. How long is the break? Pat, it's just be a few minutes, we were going to take a news break so if you want to get up and stretch a little bit that's fine and we'll be back in a moment. 1-888-822 Talk with Alex Collier. Commercial/news break. Pat, hi, this is Pat Purcell. Welcome back to the next dimension on Talk America and our guest is Alex Collier. We were talking about now the difference between the third, fourth and going into the fifth dimension. So what's the difference between the fourth and fifth dimension? Alex, the biggest shift is the physicality. Fifth density is a color. What we know as third density is a color and sound frequency made up of 72 different frequencies. Within third density there are 72 levels of sound and color. Okay. Pat, okay. Alex, now that's what makes up our physicality. Fourth dimension, when you move into the fourth dimension, which they say is primarily consciousness, which affects the mind and everything associated with intent, and that's a word they use a lot, it's intent, you move from 72 to 98 sound and color frequencies. Now when you move from there, when you move from fourth to fifth density, we were talking about a color spectrum of 223 color sound frequencies, so it's more than double, and it affects primarily the physicality the most. Pat, in what way? Alex, well there are colors that we've never seen before, there are colors, there are things that, let's see, Fifth density is more fluid, it is almost liquid, it's almost a wave, it is so hard to describe. Pat, is it like in Contact, the film? What they were showing in Contact? When she went up there and on that other, I don't know, plant or whatever that she ended up going, and it was so liquid and so vibrant? Just? Alex, yeah, that would be a great analogy, that would be an excellent analogy. Yes. Pat, I thought that was tremendous. Alex, yes, it's like that. The ability to create is incredible, it is so profound and it's almost instantaneous. That's why it's important to evolve, to really know who you are. You know when you move through the different levels to get to that place, it's imperative that you know who you are because you will create what you think, and there's an awesome responsibility associated with that. You know we can do the same things here, but there's always that factor of time. Everything takes time here. Where at that level things are much quicker. You don't have the same element of time. In fact, you don't even think about time. And because your physical body is not so dense, you will have longer lifespans in a single physical form, and gravity is different. Pat, it is so hard to describe because there are no words here to describe the experiences. It's as if we're going to have to literally create an entire new vocabulary, or expression of thought and emotion to relay what it is that we are going to be experiencing. Pat, I have a question for you. I've noticed this, and I don't know, I haven't been able to explain it. Several years ago I guess I was very caught up in the conspiracy theory, laughing, okay, and I guess the not so good feelings about the government and all of these things that were going on, and now I find myself unable to not, and I can't be real angry and all I can do is like love these people and feel this thing in my heart that I can't be angry with them anymore. And I just wondered if that's part of the shift to the fourth dimension. Does that have anything to do with it going more into a love vibration? Alex, I think so. Pat, I guess we do have to take a break. Both laugh. Alex, you're kidding. Pat, no, never-ending breaks, but we will be back and we have a caller holding and we will have a question when we come back with Alex. We're with Alex Collier. We'll be back in a moment. Break. Pat, hi, this is Pat Purcell. Welcome back to the next dimension. Before we take our caller, Alex, have you in being on the ship, have you been in the fourth and the fifth dimension? Alex, yes I have. I have to wear a belt though. Pat, you have to wear a belt? Alex, when I go with them, because they're from literally the fifth, that's where they are, that's where their consciousness is, and unless this belt that will hold my atoms together, what it does is, I put on this belt the moment I get on the ship, and it literally it creates a force field around my body, that allows me to be with them but still maintain a third density body, because otherwise my atoms would just scatter. Pat, wow. Alex, yeah, it's pretty interesting. Pat, I bet it is interesting. Laughing. Alex, and they've been lots of times. Pat, I don't want to come back. Pat, this isn't the greatest place right now, is it? Laughing. Alex, no, it's pretty depressing, at times. Pat, it is, it's hard to, but you know, don't you feel that we are here like on a mission to help bring this consciousness up? Isn't that what we're really here for? Alex, yes ma'am it is, it's just the resistance to change though, definitely frustrates me per se. You know, everybody talks about it, but when it really comes down to making the change, very few will walk the talk. Pat, you know what I came to believe after what I felt was a resistance thing for so several years? It's not about changing anybody else, it's about changing yourself, because when you change yourself then you change your reality. Alex, that's exactly right Pat, and so we really, you know, it's like, you know, we can put all our focus on how bad things are here, but if we go into ourselves and we have a peaceful center in ourselves, and we had Greg Braden on last week who talked about the fifth mode of prayer, and they have digital proof that feeling when you pray, praying rain, feeling the rain on your face, smelling the rain as it hits the earth, feeling the earth under your feet, and praying rain and thanking God for that is the way that we change this. We are creating the outcome on this, and if we focus our energies on what's bad in the world, that's all we're going to see, and we focus our energy on the peace within, this is what we're going to create. And so what I was getting to with the hologram, art by saying we're in a hologram, which I believe we are, then isn't everybody basically a mirror of ourselves? So aren't we mirroring back to ourselves what we believe? Alex, yes, we are constantly creating ourselves over and over and over again. Pat, right, it's important to keep our head in the right place. Alex, well it is, and it's also important to be consciously aware of all of our thoughts. You know, so many people aren't even aware of what they're thinking most of the time, that's how unaware of themselves they are. And everything you think about will manifest or put you in a place of where you're thinking, you know, And we're not just being, we're not. Somehow somewhere the teaching about self broke down, and we're not preparing our children to be fully integrated human beings. We're not learning ourselves or teaching how to be at one with all. And I don't. Pat, we are one with all though, aren't we? Isn't Alex? Yes we are, but we constantly are putting ourselves in self-imposed loneliness, and I don't know how to break people of that habit. Pat, how about breaking ourselves of the habit? That's probably easier said than done, but recognizing that we are all connected and that we are all one and that there is no separateness. Alex, there isn't. Pat, and that whatever we're seeing out there is a reflection of our thoughts and trying to maintain our awareness of that consciousness we do have. Go ahead, did you have something to say? Alex, I just said it was very well said. Pat, oh thank you. We have Ed in Texas that has another question for us. Ed, are you there, laughing? Ed, yeah, I'm here. Alex, are you still awake? I can't believe it. Ed, of course I'm awake. Alex laughs. Pat, there's just not enough time in the next dimension. Pat, I know. Ed, Alex, with all the chemicals in our water such as fluoride, kind of beating down our consciousnesses and toxins etc., I wanted you to make a comment about the copper in our systems and how increasing the copper can restore some of our brain capacity and our nervous system capacity. Alex, that's a great question. You mentioned that earlier, and we got into other things and now you're busy. Apparently our original physical form was copper-based. In other words, we were all blue bloods, and by adding copper back into our diet, and I'm talking about colloidal copper, we know that's absorbable into the bloodstream. What it does, it creates an automatic seal to an electromagnetic energy, which means that our brain frequencies and our brain capacity is less influenced by outside magnetic waves, which means that it's very difficult brainwash to manipulate somebody's thinking by technology. It also means that you will increase the frequency, the vibrational frequency of the body, by adding this mineral because it itself vibrates and it's directly connected to the planet. What was the other part of that? Ed, well, I was mentioning about fluorides. Alex, oh fluoride. Ed, about the hippocampus. Alex, yeah, Val Valerian at the Leading Edge website has done extensive research and a lot of others. It basically shuts down many parts of the brain and almost totally shuts down psychic ability. It's amazing that some people drink a lot of water, fluoride water, city water, and are still psychic. But it's a terrible, terrible thing, what it's doing to the body. Copper, by adding copper back into the diet as a mineral, basically helps the body in all levels. The greatest thing is that it opens and makes your nervous system vibrates at a higher level, which means that the higher your nervous system vibrates, the more your soul can attach to the physical body. For an example, there are some people you will see that are just not in their bodies, they're not there. Okay, those are people, they say, well, you need grounding, and you need this and you need that, and we all know people who are like that. What they need is copper, colloidal copper in their diet, and will automatically help their soul ground to their nervous system. It just means they're not fully attached and the soul attaches to the physical body and the nervous system. That's what soul attaches. Ed, is that strictly colloidal or does that include cheatable copper also? Alex, either. Ed, I wanted to put in another plug-in for your book cause I've followed this extraterrestrial thing for years, and your book really hit inner source within me, and I felt, I can't wait for the next one to come out. Alex, well, hopefully it will just be in few months. It's called Ancient Whispers, and it's the history of our solar system, and other races that have come here. Ed, thank you both so much. Alex, you're welcome. Ed, Pat, okay, thank you. We have to take a quick break again. 303-215-1923 if you'd like to contact Alex, and www.lettersfromandromeda.com. We'll be back in a moment with Alex Collier, defending sacred ground. Break. Pat, hi, this is Pat Purcell. Welcome back to the next dimension. My guest this evening has been Alex Collier, author of Defending Sacred Ground. I do want to mention that next week my guest will be Bart Smythe, SP, on energetic healing and Tai Chi, and also the author of Bliss is Everywhere, which is Mark Jones, and you were talking about using or adding copper, colloidal water, to the system to help protect against electromagnetic frequencies, which I find is real interesting because I met a doctor a couple of weeks ago that is out of Sedona. We were going to have her on the show and she will tell us how to make it for pennies. Laughing. Alex, yes, it's not that difficult. Pat, no, it sounds like it's pretty easy. And she also advises using micro water, more alkaline water, to raise your frequency, which is very interesting. Alex, There's a lot of things that people can do and they're very simple, and next to nothing to do. For example, colloidal silver is one of the best protections against virus and diseases ever, and, laughing, the FDA wants to take it off the shelves. They want it outlawed because it's cheap, it's simple, and all you got to do is get a jug of water, throw a real silver coin in there and drink it, and diseases, viruses cannot exist with a body with that stuff there. It's amazing that the knowledge that's out there, the herbs, and other things that people can take, it's real simple stuff. We've complicated our lives way too much. Pat, they want to make it look difficult, but actually it's very simple. Alex, it really is. They don't want us to be educated so we can be self-reliant, self-responsible, because if we were all like that nobody has control over us. And that's what it's about control. Pat, yes, it's about being sovereign. Alex, yeah it is. Pat, taking responsibility for ourselves, not working to Big Brother to provide us with food, shelter and clothing. Alex, yeah. Pat, taking care of our children and everything that goes along with. The more responsibility we abdicate to somebody, the more power they take over us. Alex, that's exactly right, there's always a price. Pat, laughing. So anyway, we have just a few more minutes here and I would like just to give you an opportunity to give our listeners what message you would like to give to them from the Andromedans, or anything that you think would be of a special importance. And also make sure to give your phone number and website again. Okay. Alex, okay. I would just like to say something on behalf of myself. I've been trying to share this information for 10 years, and I've had a lot of challenges, I've had a lot of security issues, I've had several threats, and ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to know that I really love our race. I know what we can become, but I can't do it alone, and we need to make some changes. We need to make an investment in ourselves, and each one of us has to do it in our way. There's no one way to do it. There's no one person that has all the answers. It's different for everybody and anybody that says, hey, this is the way. There's just not one way. Pat, so search within, right? Alex, well, that's where it starts. I'm creating my reality, you're creating your reality, I'm not creating the guy's reality down the street, he is. Pat, right. Alex, and I'm not responsible for him, I'm responsible for myself, and vice versa. And ladies and gentlemen, please do not turn on each other, we really need each other. Pat, I guess, unfortunately we have to end on that note cause we're up to a news break again. Thank you so much, I really appreciate it, it was a wonderful show. 303-215-1923 get his book, you're going to love it. And again, I thank you, and to all of my listeners, and to you I say namaste, the God in my salutes the God in you. End of show.